up because he put his head down and started laughing like, oh shit. But I'm not. But all in all, I'm not surprised. This is nothing new. I don't know why people thought Joe Biden was going to do anything different from Donald Trump. The only difference is Donald Trump is not scared to do the shit blatantly in front of your face.
But what we've been yelling at niggas, telling them, yo, this ain't no fucking, this ain't no lesser than two evils. It's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose-lose, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, personally, I would rather have Donald Trump because at least he tell me what the fuck is going to happen.
Yeah, he honest. At least he honest.
Wait, okay, what did he do exactly that Joe Biden's doing?
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Like, no matter what president is in office, there's going to be people that's going to be put in detention centers.
I get that. People that are happened since like the 80s, as far as I remember.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be put in detention centers. They're going to be hunted down at the border if they're coming there illegally and if they're coming there in droves. But here's the issue with this whole Haitian thing, right? When you respond to people at the border or when you respond to like a boatload of immigrants coming into your country, there's a procedure and there's a way to go about it. What they did in Texas, that could be considered a crime against humanity. But the problem is that a lot of Western countries get away with it because these are the leaders of like the UN. These are the people that have the most money in the world. You know what I'm saying? These are the countries that, they import, if they embargo you, your shit is done. Look at what happened to Cuba. What's particularly disgusting about the whole situation about Haiti is that Haiti as a country has been just disemboweled ever since its independence in 1804. They were forced to pay over 150 million francs to the French when they got their independence. That was 10 times their GDP at the time. And they had to neglect their land. They had to neglect their social welfare services. They had to neglect education. They had to neglect hospitals to pay that shit back. Not only that, but the U.S. has had a hand in destabilizing the country on more than one occasion. In 1990, there was someone called Aristide. He was the president in 1990. But then he was kicked out due to a coup that was backed by the U.S. Same thing happened in the early 2000s as well. He came back, got the presidency of Haiti back again, and then they ousted him again in another military coup that was backed by the U.S. When the 2010 earthquake happened, you know how they made it seem like they were sending aid and the UN was there to make sure. Yeah, no, not really. They were there to make sure to project a certain narrative, and Western countries patted themselves on the back for doing a good job. Yeah, you look 10 years later and Haiti is still worse off than it was 10 years ago. So the U.S. has always had a hand in destabilizing Haiti to the point where it's become the poorest hemisphere in the world. Not just the United States, France and the UK as well. So because of that, when these migrants are coming over to Texas for a problem that the U.S. helped to, corroborate, then you can't exactly blame the Haitian people for what they're doing.
These people, when it comes to the Haitians coming over, I do not hold them in the same regard as like the Mexicans and stuff like that, because this is a different situation. Like this was forced upon them. Like I can't see it the same way. This ain't them coming here, oh look for a job, this and the other. No. This is serious refugee shit.
Yeah, and it's so sad because this country has literally been messed with ever since its independence in 1804. That's over 200 years. Do you know how much shit they could have gotten done in 200 years if these Western powers didn't meddle in their affairs? And then you see why violence is so rampant in that country. You see why destabilization is so rampant in that country, because they never legitimately had a chance to prove themselves. Haiti is a land that has a lot of natural resources. Haiti was one of the most successful, colonies that was owned by the French. It made France a lot of money. And then they just abandoned them and forced them to pay reparations that they knew that they couldn't pay. Haiti never had a chance to begin with. So you see a huge Haitian diaspora in all different countries because that country in itself never had a chance.
I swear, man. Every time people do shit, every time the government does some shit outside of what the founding father said, this is the shit that happened. Because they said, don't fuck with any other country, don't involve you, so you could trade, do all that stuff. But let's not throw the military there and all that bullshit. No, we don't need that. Let the other countries do that. And look at the bullshit that's happening. And we haven't learned. Since 1700s, we haven't learned. No, well, we knew, but these motherfuckers, they're just corrupt. So they're just ignoring the shit.
Talking contradiction.
Yep.
It's just that simple. They make rules for themselves so they can break them.
All of these politicians. But they dare to call themselves American. They ain't following the mandates from the OGs.
And it's a common, and it's even a common thing amongst, like, you look at South American countries, they do the same shit. You look at most of the Caribbean countries other than Haiti, they do the same shit. I was just watching a report about how they were mining bauxite from Jamaica, and it made them a lot of money to the point where, you know, they were trying to, mine some more, but the Maroons of that area, the people who like fought the British and won, that stayed and occupied that certain area in Jamaica, they're trying to push back against it because it's blowing dust. The dust that they're using to mine the bauxite, the dust is coming towards the community, and it's compromised their drinking water. It's compromised their homes. It even got to the point where some people had to put their clothes in bags because, you know, the dust would just make their clothes dirty. And it's just it's such a common occurrence to see that these Western countries they parlay all their wealth, and they get all their wealth towards these countries in the global south, in the global southern hemisphere. And then they make it seem like, oh, well, these people are just lazy. Oh, these people, you know, they come from shithole countries. And it's like, you are the people that made them shitholes in the first place, if you really want to be honest. And we're not going to pretend like this country ain't no shithole. We're not going to pretend like a lot of these other countries that, you know, have the money, they're not suffering right now because of the fallback of the coronavirus, in which they were ill prepared for anyway. So if you have a migrant crisis that, you know, is essentially you're doing because of the fact that you cannot leave these countries alone and not meddle in their affairs, you're going to have a migrant crisis. You created your own migrant crisis. Literally.
Any last words before we move on to the next topic? I was just here to learn. I'm be honest with you. I knew a little bit of it, but I didn't know a lot. So basically,
I'm gonna say this. It is so sad that Haiti is one of the most hated countries in the world. And I say that because everybody has ignored these people. Everybody has watched what happens to these people in broad daylight, and nobody really wants to do anything to help them. Like, as a global, as the earth, as like a global spectrum of human beings, like, we're not doing anything to help these people. And, Haitians are some of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. You know what I'm saying? These people literally bonded themselves out of slavery. They fought and died for their independence, to the point where even other colonies looked at Haiti for inspiration. Not only that, after Haiti got its independence, it even helped other countries get fight for their independence as well. There's entire articles about it when it comes to certain countries in South America, in which names I cannot remember, but they also helped to liberate a lot of people as well. So for them to be treated like this, it just goes to show you that there are agendas in place to keep a certain type of people on the bottom. And it's literally right in front of you. Yeah, we want to play dumb.
I already knew that once people started pushing Hillary. I was like, yo, but what about Haiti? All that shit she did in Haiti, and not only the kids too. I'm like, all right. So nobody really thinks about these people. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, man.
So this doesn't surprise me. I hate seeing it, but this doesn't surprise me.
I hate seeing it too, but I'm glad I just sit back and learn. This shit is fucked up. Any last words before we move on to our next topic?
America, you some shit. There you go.
This is America. Don't catch them slipping up. Uh, in in other news in the world, and I watched this on Abbott and Preach, and I thought it was an interesting look up. So I wanted to look it up myself. And this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. It's basically a generation of men giving up on college. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, at the close of the 2021 academic year, women made up 59.5% of college students to an all-time high, and men 40.5%, according to the enrollment data. The National Student Clearinghouse, a nonprofit research group, colleges, universities, had 1.5 million fewer students compared to 5 years ago, and men accounted for 71% of the decline. Basically, men ain't going to college no more. And I know some people just like either go in the workforce, or if you're basically not in STEM college, a lot of people don't really see college as really the road to go. So, gentlemen and Tanya, how do y'all feel about a lot of people not going to college now when it was pushed to us so hard?
I don't want to owe money for something that I don't want to owe money for something that like I might not get a job for. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, it's a different era. I don't know. My brother just graduated from high school this summer, and he decided to go into the workforce straight out the just out the gate, and he's happy about it. He even talked about going to the Navy because it's just a better opportunity than going to college in his eyes. I mean, personally, I felt like my best experiences came from when I enrolled into the AI, but I also do owe money to the AI, so it's like bullshit. So
they're not getting no money.
Yeah, they're not getting shit. They're not getting shit. But it's just the principle. Like, why would I want to owe money for something that I might not ever get a job for? Or why would I, go to school for something? This generation, they are less. I don't know how to explain it. It's just different. I don't understand it. They don't want to. I think it's just more so they have a wider opportunity or situation, and then I don't know. It could be a lot of these men are put in situations where they have to provide earlier than what they're used to.
I think it's that, and it's more opportunities now for this generation to make money that wasn't available to us when we were their age. Like somebody can hop on TikTok real quick, make some bank.